So, just a little part two, I guess, um, with the review of the Fellowship Club. A support group, supposedly, but it just seems to be a place for demons to get their louching pleasures from. So, you're acting like a victim when I'm like, I'm just going to ask the children to leave if you bring any. So I saw some the other day. Thanks for not having them do anything inappropriate, by the way. You're still going to get a 1-star review. But, I'm like, yeah, I got some hardcore stuff to talk about, but I have a right to talk about it. Again, I don't feel like going to your sexual abuse support groups because that's not what my story is about, although it entails some of that, indeed, yes. Being brain damaged, intentionally poisoned with heavy metals was one of the things this Jesuit family posing, or maybe legitly Catholics, I don't know, because nobody's really talked about the Catholic Church sexual abuse, but that's what a lot of this is about. They're like, we're going to sexually abuse a lot of you, especially into adulthood, especially you Jesus like characters. And then we're going to have our children do inappropriate things around you. And we're going to fool a lot of the child protectors, by the child fuckers into that. And I just get to talk about it because it disarms a lot of that. And that's why I like to talk about it. And that's why the evil doesn't like me talking about it. Because they have their little shtick. It's like I know too much. I see too much. And I see through the shit. And I could, definitely explain how they weaponize children, how they traumatize adults, how they get you guys to just fight amongst yourselves, which is exactly what happened today. You know, so yeah, I couldn't have been more adult and proper about it. But again, take someone that's been I'm a targeted individual. I got 24/7 fucking assholes above me, spying on me, seeing through the walls with all their Wi-Fi sonar shit. And trying to mind control me, trying to possess me, trying to make me into a mass shooter. When I mentioned in the last one, where they're fucking poisoning me with Roundup, they're getting every single neighbor of mine to do that through all the walls. And then they're trying to make me a mass shooter by getting people to talk about guns around me, putting ads around bus stops that I would go to, and getting anonymous online accounts to say where to get a cheap gun. Then they were getting the cops to not do anything. That's why I want to make a homestead. Because if people are going to just come and rape me anyway and ejaculate inside my ass and nobody's going to do anything about it because all the cops and firefighters and everybody's, working together to, attack and gaslight people like me, then I at least get to talk about it. And there's no difference between me, living out in a homestead away from a lot of assholes than it is living here. Sure, they give me benefits, but those are more like controls, secret controls, and that I need to break myself free from. And I think making homesteads for people, but then, evil is going to infiltrate that as well. So I figure talk about, what they're going to do very likely is make it appear like a Waco, Texas situation where, what, I am like a David Koresh, except I, am just not going to fuck your children no matter how many times you rape me with them. And again, I get to talk about that because it's exactly what you would do to Jesus. You do exactly to Jesus what y'all doing to me. Because I have a very funny feeling that Jesus and Mercury are more alike than people would like to admit. They seem like separate characters, but, that's just his story. And there's a lot of distortions. They'll say Mercury is a trickster, even though I'm the most honest, authentic, upfront, fucking, pure person you would ever fucking meet. Sure, are some of my views weird? Yeah, because I realize the darkness of your world and that you're literally living in the dark ages right now and people aren't aware of it. And I and a few others am aware of it. And again, I just, like to talk about it. I wasn't going to get that hardcore. I just, yeah, I get roofie raped a lot by children and then, by some adults too, I guess. And they usually do it in my butt. And then then I have the trauma response of enjoying anal stuff. And then, another psychological warfare that started when I was a child into my adulthood is, oh, you like stuff in your butt? You must be gay. How terrible. Another psychological warfare that they do. And they started on children into their adulthood. And evil doesn't really like this coming out. And so that's why, I say, the Fellowship Club served evil today and probably does. The one thing I disagree with AA, which I try, to, stay quiet on, is, I've only been to 3 meetups, but, is how everybody is like, I am so and so and I'm an alcoholic. Well, see, because evil has infiltrated every fucking aspect of your fucking lives and everywhere, they make a nice sounding program like AA, but then they get you to manifest because your words that come out of your mouth is like a signal to the universe and you manifest that way. It could be considered magic, even. And so when you say you're an alcoholic constantly, you're constantly manifesting that. Otherwise, it's a good program. I see a lot, but it's those subtle things that they do. They're like, no, you got to have this program and it needs to be this way. And you all got to admit that you're alcoholics. And that right there is serving evil, which, might have very well come up one day if I, visited the AA meetings long enough. I would have broke and be like, look, I can't stay silent about this any longer. You know, and your words, your thoughts, your emotions manifest reality. And I'm not too upset. I'm not, letting them loose me because that's probably what this was about, is try and get me to be emotional and yada yada to, feed off of me. But that really isn't working, you know. I guess a tiny bit of anger in my voice in the first review, part one, you know, but yeah, there wasn't anything improper about me asking children to leave when I have to talk about hardcore things, especially hardcore things that adults get their children to do while making themselves seem righteous when they're not. They're just participating in lifelong abuse on certain targets because they like to make a lot of patsies, which is why the Catholic Church, I brought up the Catholic Church, they molest so many because they like to make a lot of patsies to run cover for the actual child predators. So again, you're all just kind of fighting amongst yourselves, attacking Jesus-like characters, which would, I'm sure, bring good karma upon you, right? And people that participate in that. And yeah, yeah, Mel Gibson, if you ever get word of this one, and I hope some of the nicer Freemasons can send them a, clip of this video, or, hey, you might want to listen to Chris Borrow real quick, because I got a lot of stuff to say about what they'll do to Jesus, and it's not just that torture porn that you fucking had in your, the Passion of the Christ one, they'll do sexual things too. They'll roofie rape Jesus into his adulthood and then pretend like he is some fucking, perpetrator. When really, it's a collective, the opposite. Like it's really fucked up. And they totally weaponize children like this. And again, a way to disarm that is by talking about it. And it also spreads awareness. And something, my part of disclosure, a little part, of the disclosure. A major part is the possession, which they also do common practice and wide scale. And that's more hush hush. But then, the psychological warfare of, people being raped by children into their adulthood while maintaining the children status and having a whole bunch of maybe well meaning people be easily misled into doing a lot of evils, while making it seem like they're righteous. Because that's how narcissists, as some of them know it, but I would call them demons too, because those two words are very interchangeable. And yeah, and it saddens me a little bit that, I won't be able to get my little story out at this place that could have helped some people out, give them some good insight. But evil isn't looking to help people out. They're looking to keep you an alcoholic by you manifesting that with your own words. And then, hey, we'll be here for you and listen to your hardships and, suck off the energy on that and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, and that eventually probably would have come up at some of the meetings. Just like I saw that one guy that was like talking about that really violent, incident. I'm going to fucking have blood, spurt everywhere and cut my neck right here. I got the knife. Yeah, sure, you're going to talk about that around the children and not ask them to leave, for you go to the next room. What the hell? You're just, grandstanding, making it seem like you're nice, but you're really just doing evil's bidding. And that's how manipulative evil could be. And I could see it. I can explain it. And I have no problem talking about it because, again, talking about it disarms a lot of that nonsense. And I have a right to talk about these things. People are going to rape me into my adulthood for life. I have a right to speak about these things. And then, very likely take blackmail photos. Maybe they get their AI to like make it look like I'm not passed out and shit. Yeah, and that's what they do. And then you're, and then I'm, trying to, be a president, like, let's clean up trash in oceans, let's have clean drinking water, tax the shit out of the rich, help out the homeless and poor. And I start getting sent to jail left and right for shit I never did. And then people are having their children feel themselves up around me. I have a right to talk about this and defend myself. Because I am like a Jesus-like character, believe it or not. And this is exactly what you would do to a Jesus-like character, is be constantly fooled into attacking him. And that's that part in burning Rome down, right? Is teaching the people to attack the deities when they come in human form to help you out. And that's exactly what this is. And I, again, just, hope you get the karma you truly deserve. And only the, other gods that are not in human form and spirits know your intentions and every thought. And so only they could decide these things. I've had a lot of brain damage as, this childhood friend that, roofie possessed me when I was a child, would also get very upset when I would prepare my own water, which doesn't sound like much. But then, you come to think about it, I would get massive headaches, migraine headaches at this place constantly. Whenever I went over to the Andrews house, I got a fucking headache. I got a fucking headache every single time. A major migraine headache. And of course, they had some pills for me to take to alleviate that headache. And yeah, they would get upset when I would prepare my own water. And that was more telling than I realized when I was a child. But seeing it with adult eyes, it was far more evil than I ever realized. And that's how the evil of your world operates. And I could see and explain it, and they don't like that. So they send their little demons to menace me while making it seem like they're doing a good thing. Me asking some children, if you bring them around, to leave when I have to talk about some really serious, hardcore, fucked up things is not wrong of me. And it doesn't make me immature. It actually shows how immature and wrong you are. And there is my review of the Fellowship Club in Aurora, Colorado. You guys have a good day. Peace the fuck out.